Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of eBay Game Hunting. It's about 1:30 in the morning, and I figured let's do some late night shopping on eBay. Let's check some auctions, right? Like, look at this. There's a copy of Strider 2 ending this late at night. You can find some really good deals late night on eBay. I found a lot of good stuff. Some of my best deals have been found like in the late evening when a lot of people are not really shopping on eBay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be browsing through the auctions. Maybe I'll take a look at the buy it nows. There will be edits when there's like dead time and I'm not finding anything. So anytime I find something pretty cool, I'll cut the video and go to the good stuff. But yeah, let's see what we can find. Obviously, one of the advantages of game hunting really late at night is there's way less competition. Let's face it, most normal people are not up at 1:30 or 2 in the morning shopping for games. Obviously, East Coast, there's still going to be some people up game hunting on the West Coast and stuff, but I'm not sure how late we'll go here, but the later it gets, obviously the less stuff will be for sale, the less stuff that will be ending, but sometimes the better the deals get. I've been noticing a trend on eBay lately, and if you tune into any of my eBay streams on Saturday nights on Twitch, I love to point this out. I don't know what it is, but people's cameras, I guess it's just the camera lenses are just so wide angle now that it's almost guaranteed that you're going to see at least a few foot or like full body shots in people's listings, and they just don't take the time to edit it out. It's becoming a running gag in my eBay streams lately. Of course, a little bit of late night D action. Actually, one of my favorite Dreamcast games. If you've never played D2, you definitely owe it to yourself. If you're a fan of survival horror or really, really weird games, this is like an essential pickup. You don't even have to play the first game. It really has nothing to do with the first D at all. But one of my highest recommendations for the Dreamcast. Ending super late at night at almost 3 a.m. Some late night D. I should also quickly mention for anybody curious, I am just searching video games under the video games category. That just pretty much gives me the most general search I can get, and then I just sort by ending soonest and auction as well. I should have mentioned that a little bit earlier. Huge personal video game bundle, 250 games, and it looks like a big sloppy mess. But sometimes those can be some of the best types of listings, the ones that are really hard to look through, because not everybody will take the time to kind of scour it. First impressions, though, are not looking good. It's looking like your typical junk drawer, loose discs just thrown in a bin, 20 copies of The Biggest Loser on DS, and we're just going to move on. This is not $2,000, I'm sorry. As we're scrolling and scrolling here, as you can see, we are starting to get into listings that are starting to end after 4 a.m. So probably by the end of this page, if we don't find anything, I'm just going to move on to the buy it nows. Unfortunately, you can't strike gold every time you look through auctions, but it's worth a try. Sometimes you can find some really good stuff, but I think we're going to be moving on to some buy it now. So what do you say we look up some newly listed buy it now listings? So one of my favorite searches to do is just search lot under video games and consoles. And I sort this by newly listed and buy it now because I don't want to see auctions. I want to see stuff that I can immediately buy. And this is one of my favorite searches. I've been doing it for as long as I've been using eBay. If you don't do this search, I would definitely recommend it. It's probably the best way to find some of the better deals out there, like this here, right? For example, this is something you gotta be tricky of, and this happens a lot lately, is a lot of people will list stuff as case and manual only. So make sure you're reading descriptions, make sure you're reading titles. Obviously, these are pretty scratched up and missing a bunch of stuff. Some of them don't even have discs. That's GameCube for you, though. Super expensive no matter what the heck you're buying. Oh, look at this. We have a lot of 18 DS games. Looks like a bunch of kids' games. A lot of Lego. I'm not interested in Lego games. They also seem to have water damage on Spider-Man. This looks like a great lot for kids, though. But yeah, not something that I would be interested in. It's really hard to find a good DS lot these days as well. Oh, this is an interesting lot. It's a bunch of reproduction Super Nintendo games. I don't really do reproductions too much anymore. Oh, I actually have this Eternal Felina. I actually tried streaming it a few years ago. This is actually a pretty good turn-based RPG. I played it for probably like 8 hours or so. I definitely recommend it if you're in the turn-based RPGs and you play the translated version. I actually have quite a few of these. I haven't gotten around to all of them yet, though. I really do enjoy playing some homebrews, though. Ones that are translated to English, slapped in a cart so I can play them on the real hardware, as long as they're not too expensive. These days, I'm not really caring if they're coming with a box or anything. Just a cart is good enough for me. But be careful though, because if you get a translated ROM put in a cart, that's it. Like if you get a bad ROM or a bad translation, in order to fix that, you're gonna have to like send the cart back or learn how to do it yourself to like re-burn the ROM on there. So keep that in mind. It has happened to me before. I had a game where I couldn't you couldn't use items to heal, so I couldn't progress in the game because it was a turn-based RPG. So just be careful out there. Make sure you're getting the correct versions when you get these reproductions. And in case you're wondering what I'm generally looking for, I don't really ever have a wish list anymore. These days I do mainly collect for PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. You know, I'm dabbling in the Xbox 360 here. Of course, we're all getting caught up in the hype of that. The Game Boy Color, you know, I'm looking for anything. Generally, there's always a few games on each console where I'm like, they'll be on the top of my list. And if I see it for a good price, I might nab it. But I don't really keep a big, huge list or wish list or anything like that for games that I want. I kind of just look at a lot like this, and I'll assess it. I'll be like, okay, which games do I not have? Which ones do have? You know, maybe I own one or two of the games in here, and I'm like, well, I can trade those, sell those. How much would that like reduce the value of the lot in terms of like, you know, what kind of trade value would I have here after I keep the games that I want to keep? And that's pretty much how I assess lots. Um, Individual games, I just try to look for games that are slightly below what the current market value is. I need to feel like I'm getting a pretty good deal. You know, I'm not just gonna jump on something just because I need it. I need to feel like I'm getting a decent little deal. It's a lot more fun that way. Kind of keeps you in check, so you're not buying anything and everything. And yeah, that's how I do it. One thing that I do also want to point out when I do these videos, I don't want to guarantee that I'm always going to buy something. I think it'll also keep the videos a little bit more fun and interesting. Ooh, this looks like a pretty good lot. Because if you watch one, you won't know if I actually pick something up or not. So don't always expect me to actually find something. I'm never going to force myself to buy something that I don't want. This is just your typical 360 lot. I like to call these bro lots. It's like the kind of lot that your big brother would have, you know? Like if you checked his Xbox 360's collection back in the day, this is probably what it would look like. This is a bunch of randomness. I always get excited for these kind of lots. The ones that you could just see from the thumbnail, there's a bunch of random games in there. They're usually way overpriced, but it's always nice to and fun to look through them, see what they got. And of course, this is definitely another delusional person that thinks they're sitting on a fortune when they're really not. So, moving on. These may be the most cute Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong plushes I have ever seen. You gotta love this kind of stuff that comes out of Japan. The cuteness is just on another level. I'd really like to try and find something to buy for the first video. You know, I don't want to disappoint you guys, but maybe what we'll do is I'll search PlayStation 2 because I'm always on the lookout for PS2 games. Because right now, you know, past year or so, I've been playing a lot of PlayStation 2 games on my live streams. Where I essentially I spend this roulette wheel and whatever it lands on is what I play. So I'm always looking to stock up on some really good or really bad PS2 games. So I think what we're gonna do is instead of searching lot, I'm gonna just look for PlayStation 2 in general and let's see what we can find. Now, here's a tip on how to search for something like PlayStation 2. What I like to do is do parentheses PS2, comma, and then um, put this in quotations, PlayStation 2, and then close the parentheses. And then what this does is it'll search for both PS2 and PlayStation 2. So in other words, see how this lists the title as PS2, but it doesn't say PlayStation 2 in the title. That means that it will include listings that have one or both. That way it covers everything. And I find that's the best way to make sure that you're not really missing any listings if you were just searching one or the other. So what kind of games am I looking for on PlayStation 2? Well, like I said, good games, bad games, mostly stuff I've never played before. I'm not opposed to picking up a lot of PS2 games that has just a bunch. Like it's so funny this pops up. This is the PS2 game I'm playing right now. I'm sure I'll talk about it in another video when I recap what I've been playing on PS2 lately, but I'm playing Barnyard. That's the current game that I've been forced to kind of play. This is way better than I was expecting. It's a kids game, but it's a 3D platformer with some actually really good graphics on PS2. I've been thoroughly impressed by this. Check out Barnyard if you're into licensed platformers, it is definitely by far one of the best licensed platformers I've played from the PS2 and the Xbox for sure. So besides like licensed platformers, silly games, like really bad games, I'm looking for any kind of 3D platformer I've never played before, action games I've never played before. RPGs, I have most of the RPGs I need, so it's going to be a little hard for me to find an RPG that I don't have and I need to buy. I'm going to be on the lookout for lots, obviously, because that's where most of the value comes from. I do have all regions as well, but right now I'm mostly focusing on just buying the US PS2 games. And I'm just looking for good deals. I'm not looking to spend a lot. I'm okay with just picking up like super cheap games in that like $5 to $10 kind of range. I do actually need to flesh out my collection a bit more with sports games because I don't have too many sports games. Ooh, I actually do need Simpsons Hit and Run, but it has no manual. That's unfortunate. And it's scratched. I was gonna say that's a pretty decent price for a complete copy of that game, Black Label, but oh well. Yeah, I haven't played Simpsons Hit and Run yet. So that's kind of what I'm looking out for. But man, the wheel that I spin has really let me play some PS2 games that I normally would not be touching like ever. Like I just scrolled by the Herbs. I played that, and that was a bit better than I was expecting. I played a lot of these PS2 games that I'm, spinning on this roulette wheel that normally I would not play. Like this is one here I'm looking out for. Really interested to see how the Da Vinci Code plays, but here's the thing, I'm not looking to pay $11 for it. I'm hoping to kind of find that in with a bunch of other games and a lot, so that way it's not quite as pricey. Um, so yeah, my PS2 collection is definitely growing. It's definitely getting pretty big. But I still need to beef it up with some really terrible, like sub $10 games. It's gonna be really interesting to see what happens to the price of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, not just for the PS2, but like Dreamcast version, whatever. Because we got that collection that's coming out and it's gonna have it in there. So I really don't think the price will be affected too much because you're still gonna have that hardcore group of fighting fans that will probably still want their original copy of this. But if it does fall, I wouldn't imagine it falling too much. It's not going to be like a Klonoa 2 level of price decrease. I could see it probably dropping by maybe like 25%, but I couldn't see it going too low. Here's an RPG. It is not an awesome game, despite what they say. This is one of the slowest and worst PS2 RPGs I've ever played, and that's the Inuyasha Secret of the Cursed Mask. It's got one of the slowest battle systems ever. You definitely have to be a hardcore Inuyasha fan to maybe get anything out of this game. The best thing I can say about it, it has some nice hand-drawn backgrounds, but other than that, avoid it at all costs. Here's another one that I'm actually on the lookout for, and that's the Spy Hunter Nowhere to Run game. It looks super janky. One of those like so bad is good kind of games, but I'm not looking for a sealed copy, so maybe we'll find a used copy. Probably not tonight, but maybe in another video. Even though I haven't found anything yet, I hope you guys are enjoying the fun little topics of discussion as I come across games on here. Maybe, you're learning a thing or two from seeing how I search through eBay and some of my techniques with like how I search. So at least I hope you're enjoying the video. Be sure to leave a like. It does help the channel immensely. Um, you know, hopefully I can find something for you guys, but we'll have to see. I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. Might change up the search here in a moment. All right, I'm going to do another one of my favorite searches, and that's for promo. Now, this used to be a way better search back in the day, and now it's kind of polluted with a bunch of weird things that I wouldn't exactly consider a promo. But this search can bring you anything. Like, for one of the first things we come across is a Gran Turismo 2 compressed race car promo shirt from 1999. So there's some really fun things that you can find when searching for promo items. But generally these days, a lot of people do realize when they have something really rare, and they will charge you accordingly for it. Whoa, look at this crash pin. That's quite a pin. Assuming it's vintage, I'm not super familiar with crash stuff, but yeah, that is something. Whoa, that's pretty wild. A 50-cent bulletproof promo item, and it's obviously probably not bulletproof, but still, what a crazy promo item. I love seeing some of these older promo items. They used to think of the craziest stuff. Talk about like perfect marketing though for that game. Another thing I've found when you search promo items these days, they used to be a lot more unique in terms of there's a lot of reproductions these days. So like 10, 15 years ago, it used to be really rare and awesome when you would find like an official sign or a light up sign, store display. But these days, there are a lot of people that are making reproductions, which is fine and all. It's cool to make more affordable, more easily accessible signs for people's game rooms and everything, but it does kind of dilute the authentic ones and how hard the hunt used to be for those. So a lot of times when you search promo, a lot of sort of homemade stuff will pop up, which is fine and all, but it just makes it a little bit harder, and you have to be a bit more diligent these days to make sure that you're kind of combing through all of the. Whoa, I've seen this before on here. This is one of the most interesting. uh, I forget. Like I remember finding this in one of my eBay streams, and yeah, it was just as shocking the second time around. Don't know where this is from. It's apparently from some magazine, so it's official or I don't know, but that's one of the craziest Kirby arts I've ever seen. But yeah, as I was saying, you just got to make sure that you're doing a little bit more research and don't be fooled into buying something you think is authentic. Just make sure, double check if you are looking for authentic, just make sure you do a little bit of research to make sure you're getting the real thing. All right, let's do one more search. If we don't find anything this time, I think we got to throw in the towel for this one. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to search rare, but one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do minus lot. What this does is it just kind of keeps the redundant stuff out. So what is this going to do? It's going to search for things with rare in the title, but it's not going to show me anything that has lot in the title because we just searched lot, and I just don't want to be looking through things that we just recently looked through. So that's just a handy little tip there for you guys. And if you want me to ever make like a tips video, sharing some of these little things that maybe you weren't aware of on how to search on eBay, just yeah, leave a comment and maybe I'll make a video sometimes kind of giving you guys some maybe not so, actually pretty obvious tips for eBay, but maybe you've never thought of them before. You might be like, why would you search rare? Everything that you're seeing here isn't exactly rare. I search rare because I like doing very general search terms, and rare is a very general search that a lot of people will put in their titles, and sometimes I just find stuff that I would normally not see. So it's one of the reasons why I like searching it. While I am scrolling by a bunch of really cool and rare stuff, I haven't really seen anything that stands out to me quite yet. Oh my goodness. Still haunts me. I remember seeing this game at one of the conventions I went to long ago, and back when I saw this, you used to be able to buy it complete in box for like $200, and I was like, that's a lot of money for that game, and it was at the time for sure. But now I see the prices that people want for Stunt Racer 64, and I'm just like, man, wish I would have pulled the trigger, but nobody would have ever imagined that N64 would have blown up the way that it has. It's just crazy to see some of these prices. And right after that, we have a sun faded one for $2,000. If there's one thing that I hate, it's sun faded games. You would not catch me buying a sun faded box like that. At this point, I pretty much treat this as cart only. What about you guys? Would you ever consider a game with that amount of sun damage to actually have the box? To me, at this point, it's not even including the box. All right, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this page, and if I don't see anything, which we probably won't, nothing that I'd want to buy at least, I'm going to do one more search for Game Boy Color. Game Boy Color is one of the consoles that I have been hunting over the last decade at least. I'm going to let's do GBC, Game Boy Color. But I'm also going to search for only ones that are CIB complete in box. So let's just see. I know I could search that a little bit better to get more results, but let's just see what pops up. I was going for, and still am, but I've been on a hiatus for about a year or two at this point. I was going for a fully complete US complete in box Game Boy Color collection. But I am on a hiatus because it does get to be a little difficult to constantly be searching Game Boy Color every day. And games like Little Nicky haunt me because I could still remember the days when this was like a $30 game complete box. And I failed to grab it. So, oh man, games like that really put a thorn in me when it comes to collecting for Game Boy Color because there's still a few really rare ones out there that I need, and it really makes me wish that I'd bought them back in the day. It has been a little bit since I've searched Game Boy Color though, so Let's see what we can find. All right, I'm changing my search over to complete. Just see if we can find anything different. And it is showing me some different stuff. Some of them are the same. Some people put CIB, some people put complete in the same title. Nothing in the Game Boy Color department. Let's try one more search. Let's just do one search for video games. Just as general as you can get. And I'm just going to search newly listed by it now. Just to see if anybody, I mean, what time is it now? It is, where's the time here? It's 2 in the morning at the moment, so you never know. Somebody might be listing some good deals at 2 in the morning. Well, it's not a good luck night. Haven't really found anything too crazy. I'm tempted to do one more search for PlayStation 1. What do you say? Let's do that. One more search. I'm really trying to find a good deal for you guys for the video, but like I said, can't guarantee it. Do our same technique. Just like that. Newly listed, buy it now. And let's see what we can come across. In terms of PS1 stuff, I collect whatever, right? If I need any interesting variants, if I need a long box game, if it's a good enough price, whatever I come across. Japanese imports. Got to be careful with the Japanese imports, though. They are incredibly overpriced these days. And I constantly scroll by games where I'm like, wow, I bought that for like $7, and now people want $80 for it. Happens all the time. And in a lot of instances, yeah, if you're patient enough, you can still get those $80 games for $10, $15. But just be very careful if you're getting into the imports. Do your research, be patient, make sure you don't jump on the first price that you see. As the night goes on, we find a long box D. What's the best version of D to play? That's up to you. It's on a lot of consoles. I've mostly just played the 3DO version, the longest box version. But yeah, you're free to play it on whatever you want. PlayStation 1, Saturn, PC, whatever your preference is. One of the worst PS1 games I think I've ever played. There was a time where I called this the worst PS1 game I ever played. I may still stand by it, but VIP is really bad. It is one of those like so bad it maybe can be considered good games, but that's a stretch. All right, guys, I think this is going to be the final page. I've been hunting for just under an hour and coming up a little empty. Like I said, I'm not looking to just jump on anything for the sake of getting it. And tonight was just not the night. But I hope you guys still enjoyed the video. Leave a comment below. Let me know. Did you see something that you would have grabbed? Did I miss something that was a really good price that you would have bought? I'd love to know. I got a pretty good eye for things and keeping out an eye for good things like this here. Right? You might be like, whoa, $80 for Rayman. But if you saw this for like $20 or $30, you may scroll past it. This is actually a really rare jewel case black label copy of Rayman. Normally, Rayman came in a long box, and then it came in the jewel case as the greatest hits. The black label jewel case is actually pretty rare and hard to find. So if you ever see this for a really good price, pick it up because $80 is about what it's going for right now. But yeah, it's just fun little things like that. All right, real quick, we're gonna take a sneak peek at the next page, and if we don't see anything here, then that will be it for this video. I don't think we're gonna find anything. Well, anyway, guys, I hope you had fun regardless. Like I said, not going to guarantee that I'm always going to find something when I do one of these videos, but if I do, it'll just make it a lot more fun. That's going to do it for me, though. Thank you for watching the next video. I'll see you in the next eBay game hunting. And be sure to join me on Saturday nights on my Twitch channel. We do live eBay game hunting streams every Saturday night, so follow me over there if you haven't already.